Hello, hello.
Hey!
Welcome to another week of Case Files.
With Kat.
And Ashley.
Yeah.
Woo. So what's up?
So, I'm going to be 50 this year.
Oh, I'll be 40.
And I'm going to do I'm Sally O'Malley. And I'm 50. And I can kick and stretch. I have to really plan my outfit.
Yeah.
I gotta do that. If anybody knows a good place to get a Sally O'Malley.
I don't.
These are deep thoughts. Deep thoughts by Kat.
Great way to start the episode.
Great way. I'm getting old.
Just diving in there.
Just diving in. I want to go to Scotland.
Oh.
That's what I want to do for my 50th. It's from the Traders. I want to go.
You can't turn it off.
I want to go to the castle. I want to just see it. I just want to go there.
Yeah.
It looks like something I've never seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen land like that. Like I've seen beautiful places in California and, but like it's not endless.
Yeah.
Like, nothing I've seen is just the endless rolling green hills or, I don't know. I don't know. I just want to see it. And castles.
I just want to travel, but then being in an airplane, oh my God.
Fucking old castles. Yeah, airplane.
For that long.
Yeah.
Would drive me crazy.
But yeah, so that's just what I'm thinking. That's what I was thinking about right now.
Yeah.
Little ADD right there.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know how to follow up with that. I don't know where to go.
It's okay. Where would you go? If you could travel anywhere, where would you go?
Probably parts of Germany where my family are from and stuff.
I love Germany.
Yeah.
Where in Germany?
They're from all over.
Oh,
they were farmers, so they're just kind of all over the place.
I've been to Bavaria, so like Munich
there's some that were from there that were close from there, but yeah. So I just kind of want to go and visit all of it, really.
Yeah. We took a bus tour, went to like Oberammergau and did like did Neuschwanstein. Oh, I can't fucking pronounce this stuff, but we did all that castle. I love that stuff. I love how old everything is. Like I understand the United States has rolling green hills that go on for days and we have that. I understand that. But there's not a fucking castle at the top of it,
Yeah.
Looking down.
I want to go to France and get fresh bread and pastries.
Oh, it's so good.
And I want to drink beer in Germany.
It is so good. Oh, the drunk that you get in Germany, especially in Bavaria, because they have in Munich, they have a very strict code of like how you make the beer. It is such a different kind of drunk. Like the buzz, you're just like, this is different, and then like you're not hungover. It's so weird. Oh, had the best time.
I would love to just go, right? But then the anxiety of like owning a business and trying to go overseas for 3 months or whatever,
I know,
just could never happen.
It could. You could do it.
I can't even go away for a week.
I'm not saying you couldn't like go and not work. I mean, you could go if you took some time.
Yeah.
Stay in a hostel.
No, thank you. I've seen the movies. I think fucking not.
Oh,
I don't know where I'll stay, but
I've stayed in hostels in Paris. It's great. It's honestly, it's not so bad.
Yeah. I'm the type that will be killed immediately in a horror movie. Because I'm not fucking outrunning nobody. I'm not trying to fight for my life. I'm not bargaining.
You're not you're not doing it. Like I can't solve the puzzle.
I'm gonna be the first to go.
To survive.
I can't do math. I don't give a shit. Let's just end this now. My organs are no good.
Listen,
but you're free to take them.
My friend Kat, there's another cat. My friend Kat and I were sitting next to each other watching. It was Thanksgiving, and day after Thanksgiving, and there was a softball game, and everybody's playing, and they're all running, and the two of us are sitting down, and I'm watching everybody run, and I'm just kind of looking off into the distance. She's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just thinking about if there was like a serial killer that came out here right now, like how I would be the one that died. Like I couldn't outrun anybody. I couldn't do it." She was like, "You know what? I think about that a lot too. Cause like we're sitting out, we're not playing the game. Like we're both sitting out." And I'm like, I would just be like, I will be the sacrificial lamb.
I would be the one that would walk into the house in horror movies. You see the horror movies and you're like, those fucking dumbass white people. I would be them. I would be like, let's just go. Let's end it.
You know what?
I'm not here for an hour and a half horror movie. I'm good to go. First scene.
You guys save yourselves. I'm going to go in. Going in.
Yeah.
I can't run. We're just not doing it. We're not doing it. Anyway. Hey, that's a great beginning.
Segue.
That's a great segue. What's your story about?
Okay. Well, we have talked about many, many, many cults on this show. And as we all know, typically with the exception of a few, that's your thing. And
it is because I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by the psychology. I cannot wait. I can't wait. What is it?
So a friend told me about this and there was no going back. I was like, should I tell Kat? No, I got to do this.
The answer is always yes. The answer is always yes.
So this is a very in-depth story. If you're listening to this story and you're interested and you want to know more about it, there's a great documentary on Hulu that I'll talk about. Okay. There's another
called what?
It's called The Curious Case of. It's like a series.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's one of the episodes on there.
Okay.
Which I'll talk about. And then there's also several podcasts with survivors. There's multiple different podcasts that will interview just one survivor at a time. And those are good as well.
Oh, my God. I am all here for that.
Yeah. So I tried to cover as much as I could, but this could have been like a whole 10 episode podcast because it's not one cult. This woman had multiples. So I try to cover as much as I can. I try to talk about as many of the survivors that I can. And
one woman?
Yes, I will talk all about it. But it ends with the Doomsday cat cult, which when I heard it, I was like, sign me up. Before I researched it, I was like, hands down, cult with cats, I'm in, right?
Come on, Louie. Come on, Socks. Let's go.
As we all know, though, it's never as fun as it sounds.
If clitoral stimulation is not fun.
And as we learned, she destroyed the concept.
Destroyed it.
Okay. So this all starts with a woman named Cheryl Ruthven.
What?
Cheryl Ruthven.
Ruthven. Okay.
She was the leader of a religious group that would go through so many different name changes, and eventually it would become Eva's Eden. Which was the Doomsday cat cult. But there's even another one after that one. They have a whole nother one now. Anyways, it was Eva's Eden, and they were accused of misleading people to falsify dream of reincarnation. The cult would teach its followers that cats were divine creatures who could redeem their souls. Before we get to that.
Is that wrong, though? Just kidding.
Eva's Eden originally started as a nonprofit cat adoption home, which just slowly spiraled out of control. We see this a lot with cults, right? The intentions start out really good. And if they had just focused on that alone.
On the diddling.
If they had just focused. She's referring to her other episode, not the cats. If they had just focused on finding homes for cats and doing cat adoptions and really truly caring about cats as a whole, that would have been fine. But as with almost every single cult we have ever discussed and will ever exist, what started out as a great idea just became worse than you could ever imagine when you think of a cult with cats. Cheryl Ruthven preached unconventional apocalyptic beliefs. She presented herself as a modern-day Mary Magdalene. And when you read she truly believed it too.
Oh, okay.
When you read about her, many of the writers describe her as tall, blonde, charismatic, a leader. There's not a lot of background information about her childhood or how she arrived really at these ideas it's all pretty limited, but there are some things we do know. Her mother was Georgia Snow, and she was a devout follower of Cheryl and her preachings, and she was like the treasurer at one point. Like, she was very involved in helping her daughter move this along. And
the title of this article says Apocalypse Meow.
Yes, that is one of the most popular ones.
Oh, she's so pretty.
She had multiple children who are all devout members of this cult. Cheryl lived in Washington in the 1990s, and in that period of time, she was known as Cheryl Walker. She was married to a man named Mark Walker, and they became active in a small Pentecostal church called Gates of Praise in Bellingham, which led her to Debbie Lynch. Now, Mark was 23 at the time he had met Cheryl. They had only dated for a few months before getting married, and in later interviews, he says he didn't know that she believed in all of these things, that she was this crazy. He says, I didn't date her long enough to find out. He stated that when they first met, she wasn't even interested in religion. She had no desire. They started going to church because he wanted to go, and it wasn't until the Gates of Praise that she started to attend on a regular basis. He said that the church did things that he was not used to because he grew up in a very, very Christian background, and this church would speak in tongues. They did exorcisms, that kind of thing. And he noticed that Cheryl was very interested and started going, and it really started to bother him, but he didn't want to leave her because they had children, and so as you hear about some of the things she did, that's kind of why he was originally staying. He didn't stay, but that's why he originally stayed. So anyways, Cheryl admired the way Debbie...
How many kids total did she have?
Oh, I don't know. She had with him, I think she had 3, and then she had a stepdaughter from another marriage. There's several. Okay. I mean, she's got a few. Okay. They don't really talk about the kids very much. They focus mostly on her. Anyway, so Cheryl admired Debbie's way of preaching, and the two became very close. Mark would say that it was almost like an affair. He doesn't know if it was ever physical, but they started spending a lot of time together. And Debbie promoted her very quickly in the church. Church members.
Oh my.
Church members remember her as as referring to Cheryl. They remember her as an engaging speaker, and one early convert recalled that Cheryl had an almost irresistible magnetism about her, which we hear that all the time about cult leaders.
Wow. She found her niche.
Yeah. One woman who met Cheryl at Gates of Praise was named Michelle Lampier, and she was quoted in a Nashville Scene article saying, everyone idolized her. Every woman wanted to be her. Every woman wanted to be her best friend. Wow. And this was repeated from multiple people. You would hear this all the time when people talked about her. Michelle, amongst others, would say
she was beautiful.
Yeah.
And so if she was charismatic as well, then... watch out.
So the thing about Cheryl is she would claim, and I'll talk more about something that God spoke to her. And as Mark said, if you spew enough things, eventually something's going to stick and people just kind of believe you. But I'll talk more about it. Anyways, so Michelle, amongst others, would say that Cheryl had the gift of prophecy.
Oh, so not just God is...
Okay. Oh, no.
Nope, it was just she was prophesying.
We're going to dive deep.
Okay.
She seemed to be able to know exactly what people were going through. When she spoke, she'd go into a sort of trance, as if God's voice spoke through her, according to many of the followers. They fully believed God was speaking through her. People would arrive early at church just in case Cheryl might have a word from them from God.
Stop it.
By 2001, Cheryl left the Gates of Praise to start her own congregation, originally called Freedom Fire Ministries. So we have Gates of Praise, where this all kind of started. Then she starts her own Freedom Fire Ministries. This is number 2. Most of the people from Gates of Praise would follow her. They left Gates of Praise to be with her.
Wow.
In the following years, her teachings evolved, and the church underwent several name changes. I mean, it's hard to keep up with some of these names. So as I'm talking about these stories and these people and these followers, there's going to be a lot of mingling because it changes. Like a lot of the
Gates
followers.
of Praise have the cats, or was that
No.
The
cats are way down the line.
Way down the line. Okay.
We are not even talking about cats yet.
Okay, that's the best part. Okay.
The thing with a lot of the followers that are no longer followers say is that she would just constantly change whatever she was preaching. One day it would be something, and then the next day it'd be like crystals, and then like the next day it would be like Mother Nature, and then the next day it would be Greek gods. Anyways, we will talk about all of that, okay? Really? It was always changing, but her followers always stayed with it.
If they're okay.
So Cheryl, okay, so again, they became Freedom Fire Ministries. Around 2005, she renamed it to Mora Ministries, and later it became Moriah.
Moira or something. Okay.
It became known as the Oneness Foundation.
Sounds like One Taste. Okay, go.
Cheryl claimed to have direct contact with God and to be speaking God's word. No one was allowed to disagree with her. Anyone that disagreed with her was immediately banished. There was no questioning. There was no forgiveness. There was no second chances. If you did not basically worship this woman, you were out.
Yikes.
Now, one of the people banished was Michelle's daughter. I mentioned Michelle earlier. Yep. In a news article, she said she knew how to put the fear of God in us. Shaylin, Michelle's daughter, 16. Michelle's daughter often got in trouble with Cheryl because she refused to believe Cheryl, and she didn't follow Cheryl's instructions. And if you didn't follow Cheryl's instructions, you just were no good. So again, at 16, Shaylin got caught drinking, and Michelle grounded her, took appropriate action. However, Cheryl was like, "No, you've got to get rid of her. She's got to go." She told
get rid of her, like to where?
She didn't give a fuck.
She's a child.
She had to go. Either she goes or you go, or you both. Everyone goes. She told this to Michelle and her husband that they needed to get rid of Shaylin. She didn't care how they got rid of her. They needed to get rid of her. So Michelle and her husband took Shaylin in the backyard. They joined in a circle with her brothers and cast her out of the family. In a Facebook post by Shaylin, she said her parents said, "We give the devil permission to overtake her and bring her to his side. She is no longer covered with our covering. She is on her own, and you may now take her." She would go on to say, "My own parents did this. At 16, they gave my soul away." Michelle.
That is so fucked up. As someone that isn't, I mean, I'm not a believer in any of this. But I understand where faith falls in people's lives, and I appreciate that, and I applaud it. I want people to find the peace, to find the strength in that belief. If that's where they find it, awesome. I want that for them. It is not my journey. So that upsets me so much because that is a child.
And that's just the beginning. And these are just the people that came forward. There's so many that refuse to come forward. Because they still follow her.
How big of a congregation ultimately did she have?
At this
point?
Close to 300.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so Michelle has since said that decision brings her a lot of shame to this day. However, she did it at that time. She said she would have done anything that Cheryl asked her to do.
She says that brings her shame now?
Yeah, she says she cannot believe how she treated her own daughter, but she said at that time she literally would have done anything that Cheryl asked her to do.
And has she made amends?
Would you forgive your mother?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
If she came groveling.
I wouldn't. Anyways, Ben Zeller, an assistant professor of religion at Lake Forest College, says that a charismatic leader is key in a group like Eva's Eden, which is what these cults all end up becoming. Follower members are often more tied to the leader than to the theology, so they will follow their leader even if it means betraying their own beliefs. And after a while, they are just too invested to leave. He says there are plenty of people who are along for the ride. It's just that it's amazing what people will do when they're along for the ride. If it means giving up their money or control over their own lives or their finances, their romantic relationships, their family, or in suicidal groups, their lives, they're just along for the ride. It's something to believe in. Now, few...
Does that sound like anything else that you're aware of?
Few new religious groups turn out to be dangerous, says Zeller, and while their beliefs may seem odd to outsiders, they often make sense to those inside the group. After all, he says, even traditional beliefs, like the story of the burning bush or the virgin birth, seem odd to outsiders. We can't just dismiss them all as crazy, Zeller says in an interview. He says they are no weirder than us. Starting a nonprofit charity, he explains, is also common for new religious groups. New religions often use businesses or charities for outreach. Some honestly believe they are doing good charitable work. Others are just seeking converts. Often it is both. So prior to becoming Eva's Eden, I mentioned the group was called different names. Along with following Cheryl's directions, her former followers also say they had to change their beliefs to conform to her prophecies. At first, the changes were small. The church stopped celebrating Christmas and then Easter, and it started focusing on Jewish holidays. By 2005, when they had changed their name to the Morah Ministries, which was named after the mountain where Abram was told to sacrifice his son to the book of Genesis. Soon, beliefs from other faiths and spiritual...
Would we know how to pronounce that if we knew the Bible more? Probably. What was it called?
Moriah. Okay. Soon, beliefs from other faiths and spiritual traditions were added. Worship services now opened with Tai Chi and Buddhist meditation. After that came teachings of chakras and healing crystals, singing bowls, ancient Egyptian gods, the Greek goddess Athena, and a host of other New Age-like practices. Eventually, the group would be renamed to the one I mentioned, the Oneness Foundation. So this is like the third or fourth name at this point. So Mark, Cheryl's first husband that I mentioned, was never a follower. He was never a believer. Her teachings did drive him to get that divorce. Now, when they got that divorce, he still wanted to be a father to the children. He tried to be a father. Cheryl was driving a wedge, and I'll talk again more about this, but she would literally tell her kids that he was the devil and like make them talk about ways of killing him.
Oh my God.
So in 2005,
Mariah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Mariah.
Mariah.
In 2005, Cheryl convinced one of her followers, Peter Herbig, he was a doctor and an anesthesiologist, to leave his wife and family of 3 children. They were all followers of Cheryl, the wife, the kids, the husband. As his pastor, she oversaw their marriage counseling. And in that marriage counseling, she would steer him towards a divorce and then marry him right after the divorce.
Call that.
She remains married, actually, to him to this day. And despite the fact that she was actively dating and manipulating other men and women, including a man named Rick Madrid, in 2008, he stayed. And his wife, his ex-wife, also stayed a follower. She actually moved. Whenever because this cult would move, she moved too. That's the kind of control Cheryl had over people. Okay, so she finds this man, Rick. She starts love bombing him immediately.
Gross.
She would tell him that the guys in her church were soft-spoken. They had no balls. They were not men. And then she met him and he was different. She just knew he was different. Later, he would say that he thinks that she knew the type of guy he was at the time and had planned everything from the beginning. He was referring to the fact that he thinks she only started a relationship with him in hopes that he would kill Mark, because when she met him, he was kind of like this bad boy vibe. He wasn't like church going. He wasn't like the men in the church. And so she went to he had been visiting. He went back to New Mexico. She went to New Mexico, traveled there, seduced him, brought him back to Washington, and married him in a ceremony with her followers. Rick believed he was indeed married to Cheryl. He had no idea that she was married to Peter. So I'm going to play a clip of him talking about the first time he met her.
She's nice looking. So there was a physical attraction as well as, this good girl that she proclaimed to be. And when her and I would be together, when we were together, I would have visions. And there was some weird stuff going on. There was times where her and we were making love, and I'd close my eyes, and we were floating down a river, and we were going under the water and in and out, down waterfalls. She got stronger and stronger the longer I was with her. She is something. I don't know what that is, but she is something.
He was seduced by her. He was in it. So it was also at this time, according to Rick, that she convinced him to attempt to kill her ex-husband, Mark, his wife, and their 3 kids. Now, the wife and him had kids, not the kids that she had with Mark. Okay.
Not that it makes it better. I was like,
she would have Rick practice shooting targets at different distances daily. The assassination would never... in the documentary, Rick goes into a lot of detail about, she would have him practice these targets. And she's like, oh, good, you got it there. We'll try for the middle. Try for the head. Try for this. Try from this distance. Try with this angle. Try with the scope.
So he didn't know what he was training for, but she was training him.
Kind of, okay. But not to the full extent. And then she told him that is what she wanted him to do, and he was going to do it. They would drive together to Mark's house, sit out in front and watch the activity so that Rick could get Cheryl knew the house inside and out. So she would take him there, and they would park on the street, and she would describe the house to him, describe their schedules. She was giving him all of this information. However,
fucked up.
The assassination would never happen, and Mark, Mary, and their kids are still alive. In interviews with Rick and Mary, Mark's wife, there's going to be another Mary later on, but right now I'm talking about Mark's wife, Mary. They say that Rick did go to Mark's house on his own. He sat in the driveway. He leveled his rifle, and he had Mark in his scope. Then he had what he calls a God moment and decided to not pull the trigger. He put the gun down, drove away, and at that time, Mark, nor Mary, or the kids or anything knew about this for several years. They did not know that she had actually put a hit out on him. But because Rick did not do this, it pissed Cheryl the fuck off. She was not happy. And then he stood up to her, because when he got back, he asked her, if I was supposed to kill Mark, why did God stop me? Why did he tell me not to do this if I was supposed to do this? And that caused a huge rift, and she kicked him out. Former members have said in interviews that Cheryl would often talk about Mark being the devil and how he needed to die. And in order for her to go forward with what God was calling her to do, Mark needed to die. Members would say...
That sounds like Jesus, 100%.
Members said that they would have small prayer circles where they prayed for his death. And many of them they are ashamed that they did that. But back then they believed he was evil and needed to go. She convinced them that he was one of the most evil men on this planet. Cheryl convinced the children he had to die. They would go around the dinner table, and each of them had to list a different way that they would kill him.
Okay. Can I phone a friend? I'm pretty sure. Now, I don't know the Bible, backwards and forwards. And Cindy said I could call her if I ever have a question about the Bible. But I'm going to be shock and awe if this was the way that anybody in the Bible talked. They must die.
God told her that he had to die
God
in order
told
for her
her.
to move forward with what he wanted her to do in life.
Is this the way that God spoke in general?
According to Cheryl, the prophet, she considered herself a prophet. She said she was Mary Magdalene.
Oh, okay.
In some of the
Okay.
documentary, they show footage of her where she's in a full wedding dress, veil, like at sermons, like preaching. She fully believed in everything. I don't know if she fully believed.
Like ancient dress, or
No,
like a big white
like a
wedding.
wedding dress, like a simple wedding dress with a veil, like nothing like a train, but nonetheless crazy. Mark was quoted saying, "My own children, I don't want to believe that my kids are evil, but they might be." So I'm going to play another clip.
Everybody would walk around the church and proclaim how Mark is going to die. How she explained it was a spiritual thing. And I was the new spiritual father and the spiritual husband. I really thought that he was just going to fall over dead. I really did. She had told me constantly that Mark was supposed to die. And then he wasn't dying. And it was getting to her. It was bugging her bad.
And Cheryl starts commissioning Rick to do an evil deed.
In Cheryl's world, there are no accidents at all. So she pounded it in my head that he's got to go.
She was relentless about,
like, if I say it enough, somebody will do the thing.
here's this one. Here's another clip.
During the divorce, it was taught
Mark.
that I should never say anything negative about Cheryl in front of the kids. So what I tried to do is just love the kids. I tried to be dad to the kids. And then you find out that Cheryl was telling them to pray for my death, was telling them at dinner to go around the table and figure out ways to kill me. I was being a nice person. And it was very frustrating because I could see that I was losing. I didn't know what to do about it.
When the divorce was finalized, the custody arrangement was in fact a 50-50 split. And as Mark feared, it created a permanent fracture in his relationship with his kids. For Cheryl, sowing family division is part of a pattern.
And they mean that. She would counsel couples, and if it was to her advantage, she would make sure that those couples didn't last. She would marry people, even though she was already married. She would make people think they were married. They would have ceremonies. They wouldn't know that she was married to someone else. How they didn't find this all out since they all were in the same area, I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to believe it. I don't know. But she was good at this. And many of you may be thinking, there is just no way she was this charming to convince all of these people to do all of these things. But you've got to understand, she would love bomb people. She would compliment them. She would tell them the things that she knew they wanted and needed to hear. She knew how to read people. She knew their desires. And what she would do with that information is what made her so dangerous, because she knew it. She could see it in people. She could read people like no other. Now, Connie is another former member. She was interviewed for the documentary, and she said in the beginning it was a place that you wanted to go because you felt that freedom. You felt that warmth. You felt that acceptance. Another member, Mary Lancaster, which is one that I will talk about a lot because she is really focused in the documentary, and her sister Rachel was also in the cult, Rachel has an entire podcast episode of her own where she talks about the things that she went through in the cult. I don't even have a lot of that in here, so I highly
What's the name of the podcast?
The X Files, but it's like EX Files. They talk about former members of cults. That's their focus.
Oh, okay. Not just this specific cult.
But Rachel Gunderson would be the name of that episode.
Okay.
So like I said, Mary Lancaster, who was Mary was Mary. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Mary and Rachel were sisters, but Mary is one I'm talking about right now. She was quoted saying, "She would tell me, you have the gift inside of you. And when you speak to people, they will hear and they will be healed." Now, I need to tell you some background about Mary. She was hurting because she was a lesbian and it was not a very acceptance household. She was kind of on the outskirts. So when Cheryl was telling her these things, that when there's a gift inside of you and when you speak to people, they will hear you and they will be healed. She needed that. And she was a really good musician. That's actually how Cheryl and her started talking. Cheryl heard her playing the piano, and that comes into play later. Anyways, she was like, "What? Yes, that is what I want. This beautiful, elegant woman is speaking to me of what I dreamed of." So that connection between us was pretty strong. Many members admitted to falling in love with Cheryl.
Wow.
She would convince many of them to go into covenant with her, not like a marriage, but like being one with another person. Mary said that at one point, Cheryl invited her to the church, and when they were kneeling at the altar, she told her it was time to go into the covenant with her, and that in order for that to happen, they had to kiss. Mary said that she was 100% in, 110% in, and she kissed her. She believed her. She loved this woman. She said it felt like she had found the person she would be with forever. And that there were times that Cheryl would tell her, "Now what you and I have, this isn't homosexual. This is from God." She was telling Mary that this was from God. Mary would go on to say that they would begin having sexual relations together. Now, Cheryl would publicly preach against homosexuality. She said that there was conflict in her heart about this. Mary said that there was conflict in her heart about this, but because she was so in love with Cheryl, she said she was willing to lie her face off because she finally had what she wanted in a relationship with another woman. And that's what Cheryl did. She gave people just enough what they needed in that moment to make them do what she wanted without questioning. She says later, after Cheryl ended things, she was heartbroken, but she stayed in the ministry because she believed if she left, she would be in a horrible accident. Years later, she said in a documentary, she thinks that all Cheryl ever wanted was her musical talent because it added something extra to the ministry. So Cheryl had this habit of being in relationships with people who had things that she wanted. She wanted Rick to kill Mark. She wanted Peter to be her husband.
Yeah.
She wanted Mary to provide this music. So, Mary said that's how deep Cheryl was into her psyche, that she could never leave or God would strike her, as in Mary did. She was truly convinced that so what happened was Cheryl took her into a bedroom and said, this is over. This has served its purpose or whatever. We're done. She said that she was afraid. She truly felt that she would be killed in an accident or dead. Like she would just die of a heart attack or something if she left.
Wow.
There was another man named Sanjan.
That's heartbreaking.
And he met Cheryl on a dating app for spiritual singles. She wasn't single, but she was on the app. He didn't know. He said that she appeared very well kept and that the church seemed great and that her family all appeared well kept. And then he specifically mentioned she looked good in lingerie, so I have a feeling she used sex a lot in her control. Shortly after entering a relationship with her, he realized it was all about being in compliance with her. And that very quickly started to go downhill for him. She didn't like the art in his house. She said the paintings were portals for evil and demanded that he burned them.
Oh, my.
He took $50,000 worth of artwork and burned them in the backyard fire pit at her demand. Just like that. He was so stricken by her. This is like not long. I mean, this wasn't like a year.
That good? Was it that good, my dude?
I don't even know if they were having sex at that point. They had only known each other a very short time. She's like, these paintings have got to go. They're portals to hell. Of course, now he says he can't believe he did that because he knew better. But he says she was just that convincing.
That convincing.
Former followers of the cult have said that they were made to worship Cheryl. They would follow her every command, and many even left their own families for her. Rachel Gunderson, who was Mary Gunderson / Mary Lancaster's sister, in an interview spoke about when she first met Cheryl at the Gates of Praise. So she was in it, I'm pretty sure, before Mary. Like, she was in it from the beginning. Gates of Praise is where we started all of this train wreck. She said the church was like a family and made her feel safe. She said, especially Pastor Cheryl. She said, I heard Cheryl preach that day and I was hooked. Rachel would go on to say, at first, things went well. She would spend every spare hour at the church soaking in Cheryl's teaching, and Cheryl in turn would shower Rachel with love and told her that God had great things in mind for her. Rachel knows that looking back, she realizes those things that Cheryl would preach about, which we'll talk more about, but the cats being angels in disguise, being saved at the apocalypse.
They don't like this story.
I know.
Have you heard them meowing?
I know. Cheryl being a reincarnated prophet. She knew these things were crazy. However, she said at the time she bought all of it. It felt like a waterfall when I walked into Cheryl's church, which is the second time someone mentions it being like a waterfall. Anyways, she said, I felt alive again. Following Cheryl gave me what I felt I had been looking for my whole life. It was like I finally arrived at who and what I was supposed to be by following her teachers and learning to be just like her. PowerPoint slides that were found of Cheryl's sermon notes from when the group was called the Oneness Foundation showed the group's just crazy mix of beliefs. Like I said, there were notes about the effects of powerful karmic moon, reference to the warnings about Judgment Day. The group's worship songs also reflected their mix of beliefs. You had some normal church hymns, but then Cheryl changed the lyrics to some of these songs, like Great is Thy Faithfulness, which is a song, to praise her. The lyrics would be changed to praise Cheryl. If it mentioned God or a prophet or whatever, Cheryl would insert herself and they had to sing it. Cheryl's followers were Cheryl's followers also bowed down to her during worship, like literally bowed down to her. Once she had claimed to be a Messiah figure, they also had to drink communion tinged with her blood. Cheryl would prick her finger.
What?
Cheryl would prick her finger and drip the blood into the communion cup, which was filled with grape juice, and then they would all drink it. I'm going to play another clip. It's from 2 former members talking about the consequences of not doing what Cheryl wanted.
If there ever was time of criticism against Cheryl, she would nip it in the bud as fast as she could. She publicly humiliated people all the time. If you spoke illy about her and she found out, she would admonish you in front of everybody and embarrass you.
I watched her humiliate men.
This is Connie.
In front of their wives by making false accusations. She's the prophet. When you say no to the prophet, you suffer the consequences. If you did not do what Cheryl wanted you to do, especially something of that magnitude, you could pretty much count losing your life.
Holy shit.
Yeah. There were times when Cheryl would be talking about people and basically saying like their bad behavior was causing like God to just basically snap his head, like just causing problems. Like if you didn't follow her rules and you didn't do what she said, you were causing problems, and she just didn't want that. You had to do what she said, the way she wanted it, when she wanted it. She was the law. She was the prophet. God was speaking to her. Rachel said being in the ministry, though, was like being trapped in an abusive relationship. She knew things were bad, but didn't know how to leave. She also feared losing her soul. I will say many followers said that they were afraid to leave, mostly because Cheryl had isolated them. All they had were the other members. They had cut off family members that were not part of the cult. They didn't have friends. You were not allowed to have friends that were not in the, you had to, anybody you dated or were friends with had to be approved by Cheryl. If you started dating someone or talking to someone that she did not approve first, she viewed that as betrayal and you were out.
This is Cult 101.
Cheryl was a prophet, and doubting her was like doubting God. Rachel would say, it's like once you took one sip of the Kool-Aid, you keep drinking. Other former members would say that things like this was definitely the sense of dread and something bad was going to happen. We had only one salvation, and that was following Cheryl. I'm going to play another clip. This is the last clip I'm going to play. It's from a man who had met him and his wife and kids had started going in attendance to Cheryl's church. He became very suspicious that she was trying to kidnap his children. Ooh. He witnessed things that he did not like, and he did not want his kids involved. He compares her to Jim Jones.
I was there, and she had a pitcher of water and a new box of salt. She walks up to it, pours the salt into the water, stirs it up, and says, I need everybody to come up and drink of the salt water to purify, our souls or something along those lines. I can't help but think back in my mind about the Jonestown experience and how Jim Jones had run many trial runs prior to the poisoning of all his people that had followed him.
Jim Jones was a Messianic American cult leader in the 1970s who convinced followers, including women and children, to drink fruit punch laced with cyanide. The mass suicide resulted in the deaths of 900 people, including Jones himself. So this little saltwater communion that Rod observes is incredibly alarming.
This was a trial run. And I think she was taking note of any hesitancies, but I didn't see much of that at all. Everybody was willing to go and do it. My wife has now been there for at least a year, maybe longer, and my children exposed under this crazy ranting and raving about end times. I can just picture my wife ushering my children up to the Kool-Aid and hear her drink. Yeah, I was scared.
That was scary.
She was doing trial runs. This was not the only one.
That's
and he's not
scary
the
as
only one to
shit.
speak about it.
And that boom, when the music came back in, woof, I jumped.
For Cheryl, starting Eva's Eden as a cat rescue business had both spiritual and personal motivations. She would make her followers become vegan as part of their focus on being one with Mother Nature. They also had to volunteer at local animal shelters as part of their religious practice. Again, if you look at this on the surface level and you don't know about the other cults, the other behavior, the other conditioning,
What could go wrong?
and you just look at the fact that they're vegans who believe in Mother Nature and rescue animals and volunteer.
Sign me
sounds
up.
great.
Well, not the vegan part. Can do it. Sorry.
But again, that's not what it was. Cheryl's cat, Eva, died. She became distraught. She saw her cat's death as a sign to start her own cat rescue. Thus, the cult we originally started discussing, Eva's Eden, was born with the premise of rescuing abandoned kittens and finding them homes. For her followers, this meant yet another new ministry meant fostering cats and kittens by the dozen.
Oh, no.
In public, Cheryl's followers who ran the nonprofit described themselves as a peaceful group devoted to Mother Nature and living in harmony. Behind the scenes, Cheryl's ministry was a cult of personality devoted to its prophet, who they say she claimed to be the divine Magdalene. She went from Mary to divine, and she was a reincarnated Messiah figure who would create a new Eden after the apocalypse. She promised them that. The followers would foster dozens of kittens in their own home at the same time. They would host cat adoption events in the mobile cat playground. Their mission or motto that they would often tell outsiders was, "Our call has always been to help help ease the suffering. And we are Eva's Eden, bringing love to the world one cat at a time. Followers of Eva's Eden were expected to foster dozens of cats in their own homes, believing that the cats would transform into angels at the apocalypse and carry them to safety. In one account, a member quoted Cheryl saying, "As long as you take care of them, then in your time of need, they will transform and take care of you." They would tell investigators or reporters later that they did not have a choice in this matter. If she told you to take the cats, you took the cats. It didn't matter how much work it was, how many you already had. A lot of people had over 50 in their homes.
Oh my God.
You could not say no. You did not have the right to say no. If you said no, you immediately had to leave the group. And for many of them, there was nowhere to go. They had nothing. And for many of the other ones, their thought process, why would you leave the person that's going to save you? So if that means taking cats, we take the cats. They believe
it wasn't a compound though, right? Like they lived in their own homes, but did they all live on one property?
I don't think they lived on one property. They did all live in very close proximity. Okay. And they had everything. You weren't allowed to leave. You weren't allowed to go out. You weren't allowed to do anything. Everything had to be approved by her. You couldn't go to say a concert. You couldn't go to a bar. You couldn't date anybody. You couldn't be friends with anyone. You couldn't do this or that. You couldn't talk about the cult in any kind of way that she did not approve of. And that was that. And they said, I'm going to read that line again. Their thought process is, why would you leave the person that's going to save you? So if that means taking the cats, we take the cats.
Did they call it a cult?
Yes. They themselves. They themselves.
Wow.
But they didn't view it as a bad thing. She made it a positive thing.
Okay.
Michelle told interviewers that at one point she had 40 cats in her home. Rachel also had a large number of cats. In the foster homes, the cats were to be the first ones to eat, even before children. She didn't care if your children ate. Those cats better eat. She didn't care if you worked 70 hours a week. Those cats better be taken care of. And when I say taken care of, if she came to your house and she did not think you were taking enough care of the cats, you were berated. You were embarrassed. You were shamed. We had to revere them more than ourselves and our family, Rachel said. And if the cats were not treated with proper reverence, Cheryl would berate and basically tell you, you were going to hell. You were not going to be saved. These cats were not going to take you.
I have 2 cats. That's hard.
So Cheryl would write this long fucking email. And I don't have the whole thing, but I'm going to read part of it. It says, Eva's Eden is not a social gathering hour. She wrote in January 2013 email. It is the temple of God. You are to enter the reverence of what is sealed within its foundation and walls and within every single feline. You are to enter with awe. You are to see each customer in there with discernment. Are they a chosen? You are to take care of these cats. Now, Connie, you heard her in the interview earlier, who basically said you couldn't tell Cheryl no or your life would be threatened. In the documentary, she decides to leave. She said she wanted to leave. She didn't want to put Cheryl over her husband or above the cats. And you had to have permission for everything. She said you couldn't leave. You couldn't go anywhere. You again, everything had to be approved by the prophet. She referred to it all as evil. She said it was just evil. Cheryl was evil. This cult was evil. She wanted to go out. So she went to a friend's house who was also a member and vented to her. And she said, I've got to get out. I have to leave this. And the friend let her cry. The friend was compassionate, listened to her, told her it would all be okay. Not even 15 minutes after Connie got home, she was getting knocks on the door from other members sent to harass her. That friend had already called and reported every single word to Cheryl. Connie was made to believe, and she said she fully knew that Cheryl would publicly humiliate her, the family, and the children, and she was directly quoted saying, I know that Cheryl will do things these kids may never recover from. And so she just couldn't do it. She couldn't do that to her kids because she was afraid of what Cheryl would do to the kids. She didn't put anything past Cheryl. She knew that Cheryl had she would say in different parts in the interview that Cheryl had connections, and if she wanted you dead, you would disappear. Even though that's never been proved, but I mean, she did hire a hitman, or she did, amongst other things. Caring for the cats accomplished 2 goals, Rachel said. Cheryl's followers were building up good karma by doing good deeds, and they were also preparing for the apocalypse. Cheryl taught them that the cats were supernatural beings in disguise, carrying the 144,000 souls each, mentioned in the New Testament book of Revelation.
Wait. So she increased the number that's in the book of Revelation to be, it's actually 144,000 per cat.
Well, in the Bible, because I did look this up, there are talks of specific groups.
But I thought all of those put together would be 144,000, or is it per group? Okay.
She's saying the cats.
Okay.
Soul. Carrying maybe the cats total. I don't know. It made it seem like she was saying each cat. She's fucking crazy.
That's
so
what
I don't
sounded
know.
like you said. That's what it sounded like you said. So I'm like,
Cheryl,
so that exponentially raises the number of people that can be.
Cheryl told them the cats were supernatural beings in disguise, carrying the 144,000 souls mentioned in the New Testament. Those beings would come to the rescue of Cheryl's followers during the apocalypse. As long as you take care of them, then in your time of need, they will transform into those angels, and they will take care of you and carry you to the new Eden that I'm going to create. Like I said, to be clear, I looked it up. Nowhere in the Bible does it say cats have 144,000 souls. Again, that was talking about
9 lives.
That 144,000 souls part was talking about specific groups of people, not cats. I don't want to get into too many religious meanings on here because there are several interpretations of what the 144,000 represented, but in none of them did it refer to cats.
Nope.
At first, Eva's Eden was met with public approval, seen by many as just another cute cat shelter. Rachel and other members put together cat videos to promote their work. Cheryl's daughter-in-law, Nicole Walker, the shelter manager, she was the shelter manager, would give interviews about the shelter, but they always left out the spiritual part of it. The only sign of their religious beliefs was the logo, which featured the outline of the Egyptian cat goddess. And however, inside the group, there was chaos. It was just it was unraveling. Group members clashed with Cheryl and were asked to leave. Rachel began to date a man from Tennessee without Cheryl's approval. While they talked on the phone, she mentioned to Cheryl that she was working on a video about Eva's Eden, and in Cheryl's eyes, that was an unforgivable betrayal that Rachel told this outsider about the cult. She believed that it was betrayal, and having told her followers to keep her prophecy secret, she banished Rachel from the group right then and there. Now, Mary Gunderson Lancaster was still a member, and she immediately moved out of the home that she shared with her sister. She cut off all ties. Now, Mary is the one that was in a relationship with her, thought she was going to die if she left. Cheryl would say, you had
Mary Lancaster? Mm-hmm. Was that who that was?
Yeah. Well, that's her married name, but it was Mary Gunderson.
Yeah. Okay.
You had no right, no authority to take what is mine, a prophet's, and to give it to someone else, Cheryl told Rachel in an email. You used my revelations and truth as if they were your own and gave them to darkness, and now they will be used against us. Around this time, Cheryl was planning what she called her exodus to Tennessee. That move was prompted in part by growing conflict with her critics, and she also told followers that the end was drawing near. She wanted them to move to Tennessee and begin preparations for the apocalypse, which meant buying farms where they could live off the land together when society collapsed. Cheryl attempted to escape any controversy.
Well, if the apocalypse happened, then aren't they taking up the rapture?
That's where she was going to build the new Eden, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
We're almost to the end here with her nonsense. Followers were...
I'm not rushing you.
I'm just saying.
There's a lot of nonsense.
There's a lot of nonsense. Okay, so followers were directed to say that Eva's Eden was shutting down and that Cheryl was gone into retirement in Scotland. Please don't make me...
Scotland!
Yeah. She was like, don't make me regret opening the doors for you to come with me to Tennessee. I'm going to start over and to have no one know anything about myself, the cult, or the church. See, she referred
to it as the cult.
Uh-huh.
Get the
This
fuck
isn't an
out.
email. People have the emails.
This is the email.
Cheryl might have gotten her wish had she not changed her mind and re-established Eva's eating in Tennessee. Not long after arriving, her and her followers set up a small shelter in downtown Columbia, Tennessee, and then added AC mobile trailer to hold adoption events. Now, in response, this pissed former followers off, people that had been, kicked out. So former followers, along with estranged family members, began blogging about their experience with Cheryl. And there is a Facebook page you can still visit that is still very active. And it is called, Is There a Cult in Columbia, Tennessee? Like TN, the abbreviation. And it struck a nerve with Cheryl. Boy, did it strike a nerve. The two groups have feuded, mostly online, for the past few years. And through conflict flared up at times, it went mostly unnoticed. That is, until Rachel told her story on the X-Files, that podcast I mentioned. It is produced by a group called Life After God, which led to a lot of social media attention. When contacted for an interview about their religious beliefs, Nicole said in an email that she would have to contact the FBI, the local sheriff, and their lawyer before commenting, which is a strange thing to say when someone's just asking you about your religious beliefs.
I'm going to answer that from now on.
Yeah, I have to contact the FBI. I'm sorry. Eva's Eden had been harassed in the past, she said, and she was considering legal action against her critics. Thank you for your understanding, she emailed on August 11th. I'll get back to you as soon as possible in regards to contacting the FBI. The very next day after they were asked about this question, Eva's Eden pulled its Facebook page and shut down the website. Georgia, Cheryl's mother, was also the group's treasurer and would go on to say that in the same interview that she didn't know if the cat rescues would continue, saying that she was fed up with the criticism of her daughter. Maybe we are tired of this persecution, she says, because it's all a bunch of lies and not true. She told the interviewers that her daughter was no longer a pastor, that she had retired, her church no longer exists, and all they do is rescue cats. We do nothing but good, she says, and yet we have people who try to destroy that. So Mary says the cat rescue was fine. The cats at Eva's Eden are all well cared for, and many would have been euthanized if the shelter hadn't rescued them. But being nice to cats doesn't wash away your sins. You pour out all of this care and love to these animals, and when they are adopted, they become blessings to their families, Mary said, but that doesn't erase the years and years of spiritual abuse. Many of the followers publicly criticized Cheryl. Mary has since stated on a Reddit thread, and it was really her. She said Cheryl was a manipulative, charismatic, paranoid sociopath, a pretty shitty human being by all accounts. She had a knack of cultivating her followers to fear her and worship her. Took me a long time to unwrap myself from all the fear and brain fucks she put us through. She was every bit of an abusive, corrupt, cruel cult leader as they come. I want the world to know how ugly she is. Cheryl and her family want nothing more than your soul, your obedience, and your money. Mary and Rachel have since reunited. They are friends again. They are sisters again. They've both left the quote. Mary was quoted saying, "Our relationship has mended. We are no longer as silos onto ourselves, living in our own personal hell on earth. It's great to be free and living the way I see fit and not how another person thinks I should live." In the documentary, the interview mentioned that Rick supposedly died. However, the death certificate was allegedly only given to the family, but the family says they don't have it, I guess. I don't know. No obituary was ever published. Any attempts to try and find information on Rick's death is met with walls. Many former members say that they have found Rick's death suspicious, especially since Rick did not obey Cheryl and was very public about it. He did many interviews about it. And they say the fact that he died of unknown causes in itself was suspicious, that she had definitely put a mark on his back. Some of her followers say, no, he died of sleep apnea. Some say of natural causes. Others say some think that Cheryl paid him off to disappear. His brother Randy refused to be interviewed in the documentary. And when talking to Mary, who was Mark's wife, who worked with a lot of the former followers of the cult to kind of help them, he wouldn't say anything about the death either. Currently, Cheryl lives in Kentucky. She purchased a $1.7 million like home there. She and her children, who have nothing to do with their father, Mark, run a new organization, a cult, if you will, called Da Vinci's Dreams. Da Vinci's Dreams serves as the current front for the group, following previous names like I mentioned, Freedom Fire Ministries, the Moral Ministry, the Oneness Foundation, Eva's Eden. Da Vinci's Dreams claims to save and improve the lives of cats and dogs in need. Unlike with the other groups, Cheryl stays out of the public spotlight with Da Vinci. She is rarely spotted, rarely seen. It's all ran by her children. Former members do continue to maintain that page, Is There a Cult in Columbia, Tennessee? And I do recommend looking at it to document their experiences, to track Cheryl's relocation. So every time she relocates and starts this bullshit again, they're on it. Anyways, I don't have a better ending other than that is my story of how we got from church all the way down to a cult to cats and now a rescue for cats and dogs. So she's expanded.
There's a lot of dogs. I don't see any cats.
Well, it's supposed to take care of cats, and maybe the cats transformed to the angels already. I don't know. Maybe we're all stuck here. Maybe the rapture already happened. She must have just
started this.
Yeah, it's very recent.
When there's a date on the bottom of the website, is that the date it was founded?
Mm-mm.
What?
I mean, it's just the most updated year usually. But yeah, she purchased a $1.7 million because she had plenty of money. Money was not an issue because people gave it to her. But yeah, they just start new organizations wherever they go. But yeah, it's ran by her family. Yeah, I recommend The Curious Case of the Doomsday Cult of Cats, the X-File podcast with Rachel, the Facebook pages, They're a Cult in Columbia, Tennessee, and then that article from the National Scene, which I linked to, which is the Apocalypse Meow, which it goes into how the cult started believing into the cats being divine beings and ended up as a cult in Tennessee and Washington and everywhere else, and now Kentucky. And she is still married to Peter.
I want to see their 990. I want to see their financials. They're a nonprofit. They have to have this stuff. I'll find it.
Yeah. But that's my story about the Doomsday Cult with cats.
And the cats did not they're sitting over here. They were at my feet today. They were here. Did not like that story.
I'm sorry.
I feel like I have so much sadness for the people that get swept up in a cult. Like that, there's so much that they're not getting from society at large. You know, whether it's the need for family and because they don't have a family, or the need for there's something that they're missing.
She was so good at reading people.
She was and to be that vulnerable, to be that susceptible to the whims of a maniacal sociopath, and there's
so many interviews with former members and even people who still follow her that just say she loved them, they loved her.
Well, people who still follow her talk about her
very highly about her.
Oh,
the ones that are part of the Da Vinci's Dreams, who's technically not a cult, it's a rescue, but yeah, there's people that defend her, but there's lots of former members who have gotten out, who have healed, who have worked through it and fucking hate her and want everyone to know the kind of person she is. And they'll do interviews and they talk about her and they post about her and they make sure that they try to stop anyone from believing in her.
Showing up everywhere she goes.
They post everywhere she moves on that group. Like they follow her every move and they post about all the crap that she does. So that's why she kind of tries to stay out of the limelight now, and it's just the kids running the show. But yeah, and the kids won't talk about it. I mean, they believe her. They still believe their father is the devil. They believe he's to blame for all of the trouble that they've had, basically. So
one day, it is my hope that they realize what's happening.
Yeah.
But maybe it's almost like it's too late.
Yeah.
And if they do go back, what do they feel then?
Yeah.
So maybe it's self-preservation at this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Damn. Damn, that's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot to think about too. I'm gonna go look them up. I'm gonna find their current status.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we could sleuth it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But people should like show up, be like, hey, Yelp reviews or whatever. Just
I think it's because they've changed names so many times. A lot of people are like, it's hard to, and the followers are very, very devout.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'm good too. All right, everybody.
See something?
Say something.
Don't. Your cats aren't going to take you to heaven. I'm sorry. But still love them.
Still love them. They might join you.
Yeah.
They could join you.
I don't think they're going to transform into angels.
They're not the vessel.
They're not going to carry you.
I mean, you know what?
Maybe we're the crazy ones.
Maybe we're the crazy ones.
Right.
We have our own. We have our own cult of beer, apparently, with your escapades.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right, everybody. Until next week. See something, say something.
We
Please
love
be
you.
kind, and we love you.
Bye.
Bye.